I was the strongest mage in the heroes group, but unexpectedly, I was reincarnated 300 years in the future and enrolled in the Magic Academy. This time, I awakened a unique bloodline skill that allows me to copy any powerful magical skill just by seeing it once. However, I have discovered a major weakness in my new body, which will reveal itself during my confrontation with the giant rat spider monster. Now let's start the story. The woman wonders why Rain is acting the way he does after witnessing Heroes Square in front of the Papal Palace. Rain wonders if there is a statue commemorating the hero Lys's celebration somewhere. He quickly turns around and sees 4 statues. The names and dates of death of the 4 people are engraved on the base. When Rain sees the dates, he asks what the current date is. The woman, confused, wonders why he wants to know, but Rain repeats the question. Annoyed, she replies that it is the year T-1418. Rain is shocked to hear this, wondering if he has been reincarnated or if his memories have merged with someone else's body. He then recalls the past, the memories of his friends, realizing that they are 300 years old. He wonders if they won the final battle, but thinks it's irrelevant, as the monuments and peaceful sky indicate that they did. The woman finds it strange that he should mention something so obvious, and informs him that Ren's body remains frozen at the top of the Papal Palace. Upon hearing this, Rain believes that he must have inhabited someone else's body. It is said that Lys stayed by Ren's side until his death. The woman considers the narrative beautiful and sad at the same time, and asks Rain what he thinks about it. However, when you notice that he is laughing, you question why he is finding such a tragic story funny. Rain smiles, knowing that Lys kept her promise. The woman seems confused by Rain's behavior. As he approaches the monument, tears begin to flow from his eyes. He cries because someone couldn't keep their promise. Rain doesn't know what the 3 said about him, but realizes that he has become a historical figure. The Emperor built a monument in his honor, and many magic towers and families consider him a saint. However, over the 300 years, all that was left for Rain was his power. He has vivid memories of traveling to many places and of his friends, laughing as they planned what to do next. He remembers Lys saying that memories only become memories when you share them. Since he did not share them, they are still unanswered echoes. Until he is reunited with his friends in death, he will have to live with these memories. The woman smiles as she hands Rain a cup of tea. He accepts, but reflects that his companions have left him alone in the world. As you sip your tea, you wonder what you should do next. He remembers something Lys said, that he still had something to do. In the human Holy Empire, the mage class was divided into 7 levels, ranging from 1 star to 7 stars. Ren, in the past, had the 5-star level. Only 2 others in the history of the Empire have achieved 6 stars or more, known as sages. The sages discovered the ultimate truth. If Ren hadn't adventured with Lys, he would have reached 6 stars before dying of old age. However, he feels he would live with regrets. If he could go back in time, he would continue the adventure with Lys indefinitely. But Lys is no longer here, despite her desire for a world full of laughter. As he follows the woman outside, Rain wonders if the world they fought so hard to protect is really what Lys imagined. It is said that reaching the pinnacle of magic reveals the true nature of the world, which inspires Ren to seek 7-star magic in his new life. He wants to overcome himself and escape the feeling of sadness and emptiness. Ren remembers a moment when Lys excitedly pointed to some flowers in a field of flowers. At the time, Ren said he would rather read a magic book than admire flowers. He now treasures those memories. Your journey with your companions has been incredibly wonderful. Now, he is ready to move on, saying goodbye to his 3 companions. The dead can only remain in the past, while the living must move forward with time. Thus, Ren's second life began. Ren turns his head, perplexed at the mention of family. Lys asks if he ever wanted to have a family. Ren replies no, adding that he doesn't even know what his mother's face looks like. He explains that he grew up in the alleys until a deceased schoolmaster recognized his magical abilities and took him in. Otherwise, he would have become an orphan. That's why he doesn't care about family. Pride wraps his arm around Ren, saying this is sad. Ren walks away, stating that he doesn't know how to deal with the idea of having a family and would rather not have one. Lys advises Ren not to think too much and to show lots of love like a warm-hearted child, assuring him that he will be fine. Ren awakens from his sleep when he hears someone calling him to get up. He sees a maid nearby who offers to prepare breakfast. Ren gets up, stretches his arms, and approaches the mirror. Ren looked at his reflection. He had only recovered his memories 20 days ago and was reincarnated as a spoiled 99-year-old young master. Ren was born as Rain, the eldest son of the Ludwig family, one of the 5 most powerful magical families in the Empire. Rain was once an orphan, but was now born into a noble family and had to work hard to adjust to his new environment. When Rain enters the kitchen, another maid wishes him good morning, and his mother exclaims that he is already awake. Rain's mother asks him to tell his father that breakfast is ready. Rain goes to his father, Kevin Ludwig, who asks if he slept well, noting that Rain doesn't look very fresh and active. He feels Rain's forehead, suggesting that he has not yet recovered from the fatigue of the trip. Rain informs Kevin that breakfast is ready, and Kevin laughs, wondering why Rain came to him before going to eat, and then instructs him to eat. Rain asks Kevin if he's going to eat too, and notices a parchment on the table. He asks Kevin if it's something related to magic. Kevin confirms, saying he was in a hurry due to presenting a theory the following week. Kevin explains that eating makes him nervous, so he prefers to do his tasks in the morning, when his mind is clearer. Rain examines the parchment and offers to help Kevin. Kevin is doubtful, thinking Rain is just going to give him a motivational speech, but Rain suggests helping him with the magic circle. Kevin appreciates the offer, but is worried about missing breakfast, asking Rain to eat. Rain takes a quill and begins writing on Kevin's parchment, explaining the principles of magic. He suggests moving the rune warehouse to Hill to avoid complications and conflict, and advises Kevin to use the Empire 41 formula for simple solutions. Kevin is surprised to see Rain's corrections on his parchment, as despite the high-level spell being activated 200 years ago, the Empire's top scholars had yet to solve the problem. According to Rain's magical understanding, he was a perfectly normal child who did not inherit any magical abilities from the Ludwig family lineage. Rain, holding the scroll, asks Kevin to join them for breakfast. Kevin smiles and hugs Rain, agreeing to eat together. Rain's family was small, with 2 parents and a 6-year-old sister. Rain's sister, Siri, peered from behind the door. Siri has black hair and red eyes, inheriting the physical characteristics of the Ludwig family, just like Rain. Rain turns around and sees Siri, who is startled when noticed. Rain sighs, noting that it was no surprise since he had never been kind to Siri. He was not cruel, but rather indifferent to everything in the world. Rain continues to read the book when Liss's voice echoes in his head, telling him to be affectionate and stop running away. The voice says that he is a good-hearted child who will do good, which makes Rain close the book in frustration. He calls his sister Siri and offers to teach her magic. Siri looks surprised and peeks through the door again. Rain turns to her and asks if she wants to play with him, but Siri runs away without saying anything. Rain sighs, finding the children difficult to understand, when he notices someone walking by. Siri returns with a large book and Rain accepts it, exclaiming that Siri, at just 6 years old, was already reading such a complex book. Siri smiles nervously at Rain, who remembers how Liss irritated him by pointing out everything around her, like cliffs and flowers. Rain asks Siri what she doesn't understand in the book and says she will explain, since she didn't understand anything from the beginning. He says that the magic circle is similar to playing with blocks, requiring different materials for each house. The shape of the magic circle determines the element of the spell. A triangle represents fire, while a fan represents wind. Rain explains that the following runes determine the effect of the spell. In runes, bind means to restrict, while disperse means to spread. Rain gives an example. Inscribing the N rune in a triangular magic circle creates a fire element spell with the binding function. He explains how to put this into practice using mathematical formulas. Siri asks what math is, looking confused and not understanding anything, so Rain suggests they start with basic addition and subtraction operations. Meanwhile, the housekeepers are all surprised by Rain's new attitude towards Siri. Rain's mother exclaimed happily, and Kevin also looked happy. They watch Siri fall asleep on Rain's lap, and the mother says she would like to paint that moment. Kevin mentions that Siri is quite shy, so maybe this isn't a good idea. He looks at the magic and rune chart that Rain has been teaching Siri, and comments that Rain has changed since he returned from the square. The mother agrees, also highlighting Rain's more mature speech. She wonders if Rain was possessed by the abyss, but Kevin disagrees, remembering a similar experience he had previously. Kevin reveals that when he was a student, he saw Ren's body and discovered that Ren had reached the 5-star level during the turbulent era, while he had only reached 3 stars. Kevin didn't realize his own complacency until that moment, and he suspected Rain would feel the same way. The wife asks if Ren's body is truly frozen, and Kevin confirms, explaining that Ren has perfected the freezing technique and remains asleep, looking exactly as he did when he was 18. The wife asks for more information, but Kevin says that's all he knows and he can't share anything else. After a moment of reflection, Kevin mentions that Liss left some magic in the ice. He goes on to say that only Ren and Liss are considered capable of awakening this magic. Kevin speculates that it could be a letter on ice, and also thinks that Rain could be a genius, as she solved the magic circle that morning, something Kevin has not been able to solve in a year. Kevin believes that Rain has the potential to become a sage. When the wife finds out about this, she asks Kevin if that's why he joined them for breakfast that day. Kevin admits that, although it's a little early, he will begin teaching Rain the family's secret magic. He believes that Rain has the potential to become a magic thief, capable of reading and stealing all magic. It is a bloodline restricted magic, available only to those who have inherited the Ludwig family blood. Kevin admits that he doesn't know how far he can go with Rain, as it is extremely difficult. The wife says that this shouldn't be taken lightly and questions Kevin's plan, to which he responds that he has something in mind. Systolica, a magnificent field of tulips that stretches to the horizon, is a place owned by the Ludwig family, which owns a third of the land. Rain rests on his back on the beautiful green grass, looking up at the clear blue sky. Rain believes that to travel far, you need to have long-term goals, especially when searching for the truth. Becoming a 7-star mage requires unwavering dedication, regardless of age. No time should be wasted. Rain spreads a blanket over the grass, summoning the guide. First, Ciri appears behind him and asks what he is doing. Rain reveals that he is ready to summon the magical guide, which leaves Ciri confused. She asks about the guide, and Rain explains that she will also make one for Ciri, which elicits a happy squeal from her. Ciri starts to spin in place, and Rain notices her glee. While questioning why she's not speaking clearly to a 6-year-old, Rain begins to create the magic circle and necessary runes on the blanket. He reveals that it is a high-level spell that involves 4 different elements and requires a 4-star wizard to perform. A second later, the scroll begins to glow and emits a giant beam of white energy into the sky. Rain realizes something is wrong when he starts bleeding from his nose and eyes. He wonders if the 4-star power was too much for him, but is relieved that it was just a guiding spell. Otherwise, combat magic could have killed him. While observing the weakness of his current body, the energy beam evaporates. Rain wipes his nose and calls his guide. Ciri is amazed, and a butterfly-like creature swoops down and lands on Ciri's outstretched finger. The rune can assess the user's abilities and detect magical strength. Rain explains to Ciri that the rune teaches people everything they need to know and how to train. He also notes that the rune pillar reveals a person's basic magical ability, while the rune state demonstrates the ability to use magic. Rain smiles and says that it has all the best runes for learning, and although it may seem simple, it is still a 4-star magic spell. He asks Ciri if she likes the rune, and she, still holding the rune on her finger, replies yes. Rain encourages her to go study, which she soon does. He decides to restore his mana before summoning the second rune. The rune indicates that Rain only has 3.24 mana, which is less than a beginner mage. When Rain checks his magic arithmetic and stamina, which are 77 and 64, he realizes that he still has a long way to go. The rune identifies the Bloodline restricted magic manual and notifies Rain. He believes that after understanding this, his body is not completely useless. Rain remembers a young mage who challenged him when he was traveling with Lys. The young mage wanted to establish himself as the greatest mage in the Empire and succeed Ren in the group. However, the young mage's abilities were not impressive, and Ren was also unimpressed. However, the young mage's gaze bothered Rain, who could observe and counterattack every spell Ren cast. Rain believes this may be the power of limited magic from the Ludwig family bloodline. Bel Sirius, by observing the flow of mana, it is possible to determine what magic the opponent is using, facilitating the counterattack. Rain recalls the Fabulous Eye, a legend that says only 3 people in history have managed to open it, allowing them to steal other people's magical abilities. Because of this eye, Ludwig's bloodline became known as that of the Thieving Wizards. Rain now believes he has discovered his childhood goal. Back at the mansion, Rain is wrapped up in several books when Kevin enters. Kevin asks Rain if he's interested in the restricted magic of the family's bloodline, though perhaps it's a little early. He asks if Rain is interested in studying her, and Rain confirms. Kevin says that Ellen would teach him, starting that day with Kevin personally tutoring him when he returns from the conference. Rain wonders who Ellen is. Kevin reveals that Ellen, Rain's aunt, is a teacher at Delon and adores her more than anything else. At that moment, a woman in heels enters, and Rain is surprised by her arrival. The woman, Ellen Ludwig, approaches Rain and watches him intently with a venomous gaze, commenting that she had to travel there to instruct the ugly little brat. Rain gets nervous as Ellen holds his head and asks him if he's ready, with a mischievous expression on her face, looking down. Ellen asks if he knows her, and Rain recognizes her as Aunt Ellen. She then turns around and insists that Rain call her Professor Elin, the great genius, and warns not to ask about something she has taught before. Thus began training for the limit of blood magic. The limit of blood magic is not recorded to prevent theft by other wizards, which requires the direct transmission of knowledge from one wizard's family to the mind of another. Elin, visibly furious, explains that she will demonstrate and asks Rain to pay attention. Rain looks around, curious, and Ellen's eyes begin to glow, causing Rain a strange feeling, like the eyes he saw before. Elin reveals that it is Bel Sirius, which makes Rain smile and exclaim in awe. Elin is happy, saying that it is remarkable, but that mastery involves controlling 3 spells at the same time, rejecting Rain's talent. Rain insists he can do it, which makes Ellen mock his arrogance. Ellen is pleased with Rain's appreciation and presents some algorithms focused on magic analysis. Rain examines the theoretical nature of the formulas, and if he had used magic in a past life, he might have done so if family founder Ludwig had not restricted it to his bloodline. Ellen mocks Rain's difficulties with magic, but Rain remains steadfast, needing time to understand. Ellen considers Rain hopeless and decides to teach him specifically. Despite Ellen's skepticism, Rain shows gratitude for her advice and says he will move forward. Ellen is impressed by Rain's confidence and laughs, telling him not to be arrogant or cry later. Rain ignores her as he studies the formulas, and Ellen angrily turns away, knowing he would fail, and warns him not to ask for help later. Rain continues to study magic theory on his own, while Ellen reads a book next to him. He struggles with several problems, and Ellen watches, taking the parchment from him, correcting it, and returning it before returning to reading. Later, Rain encounters another difficulty, and as before, Ellen takes the parchment, makes changes, and resumes reading. Rain is perplexed by Ellen's teaching method, wondering if she is testing him. Rain's mother watches him while he studies. After a while, Ellen tells Rain to rest and storms out of the room. Rain's mother approaches him, saying that Aunt Ellen's strange behavior comes from her hesitation to express her true thoughts and her desire to teach Rain. She remembers how adorable Ellen was when she followed her and her husband around. Classes continue after the break, with Rain studying independently and Ellen reading. Ellen shoots a quick glance at Rain, who catches her and makes her look away quickly. Rain finds her aunt more annoying than Siri, who is 6 years old. Later, Rain says he doesn't understand part of it and asks Ellen to explain. Elin is surprised by the question and scolds Rain, believing their family is doomed. She examines the problem and suggests an alternative solution to Rain. Ellen criticizes Rain for not understanding, asking what he has been doing since he was 9. Rain asks 2 more questions, which irritates Ellen, and she limits him to asking 1 more question. Despite Ellen's anger, Rain continues to ask questions. Rain's lessons with Ellen are always similar, but they help him understand more, both theoretically and practically. Rain feels intense pain in his eyes after the 9th day of training and feels like his brain is going to explode. The world turns red, and a signal appears in Rain's glowing eyes, converting everything into numbers. Rain realizes that all knowledge is being transferred to his brain in the form of mathematical formulas, and wonders what it would be like to be the creator of the universe. Curious about how the magic would work, he summons flames into his hands and notices numbers on them. Rain realizes that the young mage's eyes must have converted all his power into numbers and formulas. Rain exclaims that this is amazing. Meanwhile, Ellen is perplexed that Rain could reach this level of magic in just 10 days, even with the special training. It took Ellen 7 years to learn Bel Sirius, and others predicted it would take at least 70 years to perfect. Rain did this in just 10 days, which is equivalent to performing several basic magical operations from a blank state without any prior knowledge. Ellen is surprised and believes that Rain may be equivalent to Ren, the god of multivariate magic. Rain's eyes emit red flames. She wonders if he really is Rain's father, and finds it difficult to comprehend that Rain opened Bel Sirius in 10 days. Ellen comments that if Rain continues to progress, the Ludwig family could become the leading family of wizards, praising his extraordinary qualities. Upon leaving the room, Ellen admits that she has nothing more to teach Rain. Then, Kevin summons someone named Uda. Uda appears and awaits Kevin's orders. Kevin orders Uda to deliver a letter to his father. Uda asks if Kevin is referring to the family's former leader, and Kevin confirms, asking if Uda has any objections, which he denies. In the message, Kevin seeks his father's advice for his son, who has great potential, and requests lessons for him. Uda smiles, recognizing Kevin's commitment to the young master, and says he will fulfill the request. Spring comes to an end, and a brief summer begins. Summer, which is expected to last a year, brings heavy skies and constant rain across the continent. During this time, Rain is extremely busy. First, he learns domestic magic from Ellen. Afterwards, he teaches Siri basic magic whenever he gets the chance. At night, he works on improving his physical and magical powers. Rain learns from Ellen and the books that the evolution of modern magic over the last 300 years has been impressive. Creating extremely complex formulas in simple forms reduced casting time and increased power. Rain's magic has improved significantly, and he feels he can defeat a modern 4th level wizard. However, reaching the level of 7th grade mage is still out of reach. He needs a lot more power and understanding for that. At one point, Rain asks his father for a favor. He wants Kevin to take him to the magical world, where he can graduate in about 3 years. Her mother criticizes the decision, but Rain explains expresses her desire to go. He wants to study at the prestigious Dian University in the magical world of Golden Rose and asks Kevin for permission. Kevin refuses, stating that Rain is too young, only 10 years old, and has more important responsibilities. He remembers that magical children enter Daeon at age 6, and that Rain would be too young to be accepted. Kevin also mentions that Rain has other priorities. He takes out an envelope and says Rain's grandfather sent a note. Ellen chokes on her food upon hearing this, and Kevin asks her to clean herself up before speaking. Rain is surprised to learn about his grandfather, while Siri continues tugging at his clothes and cheeks. Kevin explains that his father is one of the founders of Bel Sirius. Rain suspects that the author of Bel Sirius is Skala Ludwig, and Kevin confirms that Rain's grandfather will teach him personally. He recommends that Rain visits his grandfather first. Rain travels by carriage to his grandfather's mansion, accompanied by Kevin. Once there, Kevin informs him that he has matters to resolve and suggests that Rain greets his grandfather. Rain runs to meet him and sees him looking out the window. Sensing Rain's presence, the grandfather raises 2 fingers and casts a spell, scaring Rain. Objects in the room, such as glasses and plates, shake, as does the chandelier. Rain is shocked and tries to react, casting a circular spell with his hand. The two face each other. The grandfather raises his head, and his eyes glow bright red. Rain's terrified expression is evident as he watches his grandfather seriously, with a spell prepared. Suddenly, the spell disappears, leaving Rain stunned. Grandfather mentions Bel Sirius and claims that he can see and control every form of magic that Rain casts. Grandfather's eyes burn like flames, but he puts them out, explaining that mastering Bel Sirius is not the end. It is necessary to understand it completely. He asks Rain what his magic level is. Rain responds that he can barely perform 3rd grade magic, which his grandfather finds surprising. Grandfather explains that Bel Sirius requires great magical strength and that Rain still has a long way to go. With a confident smile, Rain says it's just a long road, but not impossible, and asks his grandfather to teach him how to reach that level. The grandfather warns that the training will be rigorous, but that this is the correct way to learn. Outside, Rain trains with his grandfather, who holds a huge sphere of energy and orders Rain to stop. He states that he should be able to use Bel Sirius freely and instructs Rain to analyze the magic without missing anything, to which she agrees. With that said, grandfather fires a ball of energy towards Rain, ordering him to move quickly. Rain jumps to the side, and grandfather is impressed by Rain's quick learning ability, considering him a genius for mastering skills that would take a month in just 1 day. He believes that all Rain needs now is to learn how to use magic correctly and develop his magical strength. Grandfather asks about Rain's previous training, warning him that he will need to risk his life to accelerate his growth. As he runs around, Rain says he understands. Grandfather then declares that he will launch a fireball, and as a whirlwind of flames appears over his palm, warns that if Rain cannot stop it, he will die. With that said, he hurls the fireball towards Rain, exclaiming, "Now is the time!" Rain stops running. His eyes glow gold and he shouts, "Bel Sirius!" The large fireball rushes towards him, and the grandfather orders him to hurry. With her eyes still glowing, Rain observes the fireball and decides to intercept it with Bel Sirius while manipulating the combat using Bel Sirius. As the fireball approaches, grandfather calls Rain's name. Your eyes widen as a heptagon symbol appears on your retina. Finally, Rain begins to see his surroundings as numbers. Your eyes darken as you notice numbers surrounding the huge flame next to your face. He understands that Bel Sirius has been activated, turning everything into equations and transmitting the information directly to his mind. Now, Rain chooses to try and modify the equations before him as he sees fit. The magical arrangement of the spell used for this is comprised of 2 triangles, with the assigned runic symbol being a Luden formulator, the size measuring 17 axes, and the range 23 gites. He manipulates the equation with imaginary roots, causing the fireball to completely dissolve. Grandfather watches expectantly as it starts to rain. He reaches Rain in time to grab him. Exhausted, Rain asks if he made it. The grandfather smiles and says that he did well, and that now he just needs to improve his magical skills. Furthermore, grandfather is surprised to see Rain dominate Bel Sirius at the age of 14. He explains that he was 39 years old when he barely reached the same level, and states that Rain is a genius with the potential to change the history of the Empire. The grandfather informs Rain that he will not interfere in his life, but asks a favor, that Rain guarantees a person's entry into Dalan when they turn 16. Rain, however, does not wish to attend the Dalan Magic Academy. The grandfather reveals to Rain that upon graduating as the best student, he would have the chance to meet Archmage Rin. Rain replies that he is not curious. Grandfather says he thought so too, but tells Rain about a letter left by the hero Liss, asking if it doesn't arouse his curiosity. Rain is surprised to hear this. The grandfather guarantees that no one has opened the Bel Sirius at his age and is convinced that Rain will be able to interpret the contents of the letter. Despite the initial shock, Rain realizes that this was just the beginning. After Lys's letter, a story about a journey through the remains of old comrades begins. With half a year until Dellen's entrance exam, Rain decides to travel south and explore, promising his family that he will return safely. When Kevin asks if he plans to stay in the magical world after the exam, Rain replies that that's where all the information comes together. Dellen's entrance exam takes place at the end of the year, with the first semester starting in March. Rain's mother asks if he will be okay without an escort, but Kevin believes Rain's skills are enough to keep him safe on the national routes. Rain, who has been traveling for 15 days, arrives in the Jerem region, located south of the Holy Empire. There, he sees many inns and taverns in the small town. Everyone wore hats. A drunk stranger asks why Rain doesn't wear a hat, and if he knows anything about Rin. Rain asks what Rin is, and the drunk responds that the founding leader received help from Archmage Rin many years ago. Since then, people have worn hats as a symbol of gratitude to Rin, something the drunk describes as incredible and with a lot of history. Rain wonders who the founding leader was and wants to remember his name when he hears it. He also reflects on why such talented traders are trapped in a community like that. Soon, Rain discovers a problem at the intersection leading to Sunway Road, where monsters have appeared, making dozens of people disappear. The man claims that the people are waiting for Lord Nori to send an expeditionary force. Upon hearing about the monsters, Rain remembers them as living entities inspired by the abyss, similar to animals, but much more horrific in appearance. And a terrifying magical force, flames glowed around Rain's fist as he charged towards the monsters, praying that they weren't the most powerful ones capable of hurting him. Night had fallen, and Rain was running down the road. He felt the monsters' gaze and wondered why they didn't attack him. Rain believed that monsters instinctively sensed a difference in magical power. He thought he could defeat them if they were so weak, but he told himself that wasn't his problem. He trusted that the expeditionary force would take care of the situation, so he continued on his way, deciding to take the dirt road. The dirt road brought to mind a memory. Lys had suggested that the group go to Turban Opal, where there was a beautiful flower garden, to stop along the way. Rin had shouted, asking what they were doing, while talking about two groups that had crossed the continent and been decimated fighting on the front lines. He commented that the front lines were at an impasse, awaiting reinforcements, and criticized his three colleagues for not understanding the seriousness of the situation. Rin mentioned the approaching corps of red and yellow dragons, in addition to the most powerful mercenaries who sought honor and glory. He suggested they hurry too. Ren observed that after the strongest left, monsters with danger levels from S to B began to devastate the region, highlighting that this was not the time for trivial concerns like flowers. Ren was reassured when Lys remembered the countless number of people around the world in need of help, in addition to the countless situations that required help. Lys hoped that Ren would mature and become someone capable of helping these people. Now, rain ran down Rain's face as he remembered these past experiences. Despite Lys's death 300 years ago, Rain said she continued to scold him as if nothing had changed. Tired of wandering for so long, he decided to rest. Sitting down, he cast a spell to summon a creature and ordered it to find something for him. Rain patiently waited for the creature to return. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared in the sky, falling to the ground in front of Rain. It was a monster with many eyes and an anaconda-like creature curled around it. The monster roared loudly. Rain, without understanding how that creature could be a threat, remembered that he had already faced countless beasts like that. When the anaconda tightened its grip on the monster, tearing it to pieces, Rain simply walked away, saying that he didn't do it to help anyone, but just to pass the time. The ancient Bano Mountain, which served as the border between the center and south of the empire, now stood before him. Rain was greeted by a horde of monsters, inferior demonic beasts that looked at him with contempt and charged forward. Suddenly, a rain of arrows appeared and hit the demons, scaring them. Rain turned to see who had fired the shot. Two people wielded huge bows. He recognized one of them as Key. The woman climbed down from a small cliff and asked if Rain was okay. She smelled of alcohol and commented that monsters often appeared in that area, asking if no one had warned him. The man, who also got down, stated that they were successors of the royal palace and that they were protecting the place. Rain found it hard to believe that this was Kay. While thanking them for their help, he asked if this was the location of the Bano Mountains. The two strangers looked at each other and began to laugh loudly. Annoyed, Rain asked why he was laughing. The man explained that the name of the mountains had changed to Cainton, meaning Siege of Kay Castle, suggesting that Kay had settled there after overcoming that chasm. The two strangers, disciples of Kay's archer group, mentioned that the place was protected by skilled archers. Rain wondered if the group's philosophy was drunk archery. The man said that Rain had arrived at the right time, as there was a festival where everyone could drink for free. He joked that alcohol connected the sun and the moon. The woman, irritated, asked the man to stop talking nonsense and focus on protecting the place. He suggested that they take Rain to the village entrance. As they walked, Rain followed a path covered in fallen leaves, and the man walked while Rain walked peacefully in the rain. But the man talked all the time. He told Rain that if they climbed a nearby wooden ladder, they could see a seal downhill, and that if he continued straight, Rain would reach the goal. At the foot of the stairs, Rain noticed a stone slab raised from the ground. The slab had symbols and strange language engraved on it. Rain was amazed to see her. The man explained that it was possible to make a wish there, which made Rain curious. Rain questioned the man, who was surprised that she didn't know this. He commented that it might be difficult to recognize without people around, leaving Rain confused. The man explained that that slab was dedicated to Lord K. Mellum, where everyone made a request for protection. Rain asked the man to stop playing around, but he insisted he wasn't lying. Rain wondered why someone would build a tomb in the middle of the mountain. Perhaps Lord K was a great man. The man was surprised to realize that Rain didn't know the history of the tomb and asked if she was really from that country. He asked if Rain knew Ren, the great mage and K's colleague. According to him, Ren was shy, and K believed that Ren would return even after death. Therefore, K asked to be buried alone in the forest, so that Ren would not be afraid of finding him. Rain remembered an episode where he complained to K about his snoring and the smell of alcohol. K held Ren's head, who protested furiously. Ren taught K how to write letters, but when he was touched on the head again, he reacted angrily, telling him not to do that. Rain placed his hand on his head, recalling those memories. K's voice echoed in his mind, saying it was an eternal farewell. Rain denied it, remembering that he had promised to come back and find K again. The vision of K as a corpse flashed before his eyes, reminding him of his promise. Frightened, Rain fled the tomb in horror. Running, Rain tripped and fell to the ground. Still lying down, he picked up a handful of fallen leaves and let out a loud scream. He sat on the edge of a cliff, looking down. I wanted to go back to K's grave, even late at night, to say goodbye. He remembered the faces of his 3 friends and apologized to them. The moon shone brightly in the sky while a black crow rested on a branch. The rain fell on his back as he lay on the rough ground, his legs dangling over the cliff. Memories invaded his mind, like when K praised his ability to see in the dark. Another memory was Ren saying he didn't know how K acted when he was drunk. Rain smiled as he remembered Ren asking K to relax and drink soon. He also recalled Liz saying she couldn't talk because K hadn't allowed it. Other memories, such as difficulties sleeping due to K's snoring, came to the surface. Rain laughed as he remembered K saying he was quiet because he was tired before bed. Lying down, Rain cried as the leaves were blown away by the wind. Finally, he got up and returned to K's grave, surrounded by low grass and fallen leaves. He raised his hand to cast a spell. A triangular symbol appeared, and he pointed at the tomb, summoning fire. Upon striking the ground, the flames consumed the surrounding leaves and grass. When the fire was out, there was no vegetation left near the tomb. Rain stood silently, staring at the grave, his hand still glowing with flames. As the sun rose, the rays illuminated the tomb, which began to glow. Rain turned and started to walk away. As he walked, he apologized to K, admitting that he was not shy, but that he lacked the courage to face him and ask for forgiveness. He struggled to find words to express his regret for not fulfilling his promise to K. The sun was high in the sky, and Rain was sweating from the unusual autumn heat. He arrived in a large, bustling city under an autumn sky reminiscent of summer. In the heart of the mythical city of Golden Rose stood the Dalen Academy of Magic. Rain was intrigued by the city, but seeing it in person did not meet his expectations. He noticed a man selling magic books on the street. Further along, other people were selling different types of equipment. All the knowledge in the world passed through the golden market. Rain asks a merchant how much an item costs while holding it in his hands. Rain shouts in surprise when the seller says it only costs 10 coppers. He decides to buy and gives the coins to the merchant. Meanwhile, the clock tower bell starts to ring, reminding you that the exam is about to begin. Suddenly, Rain hears a commotion behind him and turns to see a thief running away. Despite feeling that the security is insufficient, Rain trusts that the guards will handle the situation and decides to focus on his exam. At that moment, an elderly woman trips and falls in front of him. Rain asks if she's okay, and the woman yells at the thief to return something, saying it wasn't for sale and that it's a family item needed for her grandson's entrance exam. Rain observes the scene, but decides not to get involved as his exam is approaching. As he starts to walk away, a voice in his mind encourages him to help the woman. He stops, remembering that Liz had asked him to help people. So Rain decides to act, asks the woman about the thief, and tells her to wait while he goes after the criminal. Rain jumps towards the thief, with the woman watching in awe. He runs from rooftop to rooftop, chasing the thief, while the people around him watch in confusion. Angered by the thief's audacity, Rain threatens to turn him into a cube of coal, with his hand vibrating with electricity. Suddenly, someone runs up to Rain and grabs him by the shoulders, asking him to get out of the way. A small girl jumps in front of Rain and orders him to move away. The girl jumps towards the thief and casts a spell. A bright light appears over his palm, and the sand begins to swirl around the thief, who is frightened. Within seconds, a huge tower of sand appears in the street. The girl climbs the tower and tells the thief that he was daring to steal from the gold market, but that he chose the wrong day. Rain watches, surprised by her entrance. The girl tells the thief that he is doomed. looking down at him from the top of the tower. She reveals herself to be a soldier of the sand and informs him that he has been captured. Rain recognizes her as an illegitimate daughter of the Warden family, a powerful family of wizards from the east, one of the 5 main ones, along with the Ludwigs. Rain had seen the girl a few times at meetings of sages and remembers how she used to make fun of him, calling him a nerd. He finds it strange to see her wearing a school uniform, as he thought they were the same age. Suddenly, the thief attacks the girl, destroying her sand tower with magic. A sandstorm spreads through the streets, causing panic. A child is thrown by the winds and cries, asking his mother for help. Rain uses magic to create a root that captures the child and returns him safely to his mother. With eyes shining with anger, Rain realizes that the thief is also a mage with a considerable amount of mana. He notices an item glowing in the thief's left hand. The girl prepares a counterattack, declaring that the thief's equipment is too good for him. She challenges the thief to block his next attack. Rain is surprised when she casts 2-star magic. Between his hands, a star-shaped golden light appears. When joining them, an explosion of light spreads, making the ground shake. People around feel the powerful energy. The girl confidently conjures a huge sand golem. The thief laughs and, extending his arm, declares that with the items he carries, he is invincible. He casts a spell on the golem, making the creature's eyes go out for an instant. But shortly after, the golem's eyes shine again, and the girl smiles, challenging the thief. However, his confidence is shattered when the golem, controlled by the thief, prepares a coup. The thief's expression becomes even darker, and a black light emanates from his equipment. Suddenly, a golden flash appears behind the golem, and several electric bolts appear in the air. The thief, surprised, faces the new approaching danger. The girl's eyes widen as Rain stands in front of her, raising her palm. The golem's left hand is destroyed. Rain warns the frightened thief that casting a spell first does not guarantee victory. Sparks of electricity dance around Rain's clenched fist as he places himself between the bewildered girl and the thief. The thief's face contorts in surprise as Rain repeats that casting a spell first does not ensure victory. Rain appears before the girl, surprising her. His expression is focused, and a magic circle glows above his palm. The thief commands the golem, which raises its enormous arm and throws it downwards. Rain creates a square-shaped magical pattern with a circle containing the fierce rune. He raises his hands and points the circle at the golem. A huge amount of water emerges, hitting the golem squarely. The water runs down, drenching both Rain and the girl. She asks if Rain is a mage with an affinity for the water attribute. Suddenly, a gigantic shadow covers them both. As they look up, the girl comments that although the water attribute is effective against the earth attribute, her golem cannot be defeated with 1-star magic. The thief laughs and mocks Rain, saying he was arrogant and asking if that was all he had. The golem advances on Rain and the girl, obeying the thief's command, who screams for them to die. Rain quickly creates another magic circle in his hands, releasing a new jet of water that collides with the golem's punch, stopping the blow. The girl, in the background, reminds Rain that her magic won't work. Enraged, the thief orders Rain to stop trying and die quickly, but Rain keeps the circle active while the powerful jet of water continues to contain the golem's attack. Suddenly, the golem recoils and turns towards the girl. Throwing a punch, Rain quickly pulls her away, saving her from the impact. The golem's fist hits the sodden ground, breaking its own hand. The thief is shocked to see the golem get damaged. Rain manages to balance herself on her hands and knees, but the girl is thrown back. Rain realizes that he cannot use his own magic while interfering and manipulating the magic of others. The thief casts another control spell. The girl yells at Rain, questioning why he just grabbed her. Rain makes a star-shaped gesture between his palms. The girl watches, surprised, as he applies precise calculations to solve a magical formula. The star-shaped symbol begins to glow brightly and turns into an octagon. He mutters, "Change destiny," as the symbol grows in brightness and size. Rain throws the symbol at the golem, and huge roots emerge from the ground, enveloping the golem's body and terrifying the thief. The roots expand, connecting the golem's parts and even creating leaves. The terrified thief looks at Rain as the ground beneath his feet is also covered in roots. Rain approaches the thief and takes an artifact from his wrist, examining it. He accuses the thief of theft and speculates that the artifact has abilities similar to those of Bel Sirius, capable of nullifying magical control and stealing up to 2 spells from a star. The horrified thief asks who Rain is and how he can cast magic so quickly. Rain walks away, believing that even if he revealed his identity, the thief wouldn't believe him. He walks up to an elderly woman who watches him, shocked. Rain hands her the artifact, advising caution. The woman begins to cry with happiness, and the crowd applauds, praising Rain with affectionate words. Suddenly, Rain remembers an entrance exam and rushes out, leaving the thief behind. A sword is pointed at the thief by a woman in a cloak who appears before him. She greets the girl, calling her Krista, and asks if she made any mistakes. The visitor removes her cloak, revealing herself to be Professor Caroline. Caroline praises Krista's confidence, but warns her against reckless use of golems. Krista promises to be more careful next time and asks if Caroline has seen the boy who can cast magic at the same speed as her. Caroline admits that she assumed Rain's casting speed would be faster than hers. Krista asks what happened, noting that Rain didn't seem particularly strong at the Council of Sages. Caroline wonders why Rain was there if he came for the entrance exam, which leads Krista to question what she means. Caroline claims that the entrance exam started a long time ago. Meanwhile, Rain continues running towards the exam, worried. Caroline asks why Rain wasted time if he came for the exam that had already started a long time ago. Now terrified, Rain runs to the exam hall. Krista begs Caroline to help Rain gain acceptance, but Caroline responds that there are restrictions. Krista explains that Rain was late because she was helping other people and asks if Caroline can do anything. She says she saw this with her own eyes and that people like Rain motivate her to try harder. Krista smiles and says that having someone like Rain at school would make everything more interesting. Caroline reflects for a moment before agreeing with Krista. In the professor's office, Caroline reviews Rain's documents and notices the absence of prizes in magical competitions or other great achievements. She discovers that Rain is the supposed genius sent by the Ludwig family from the heavens. Upon investigating further, Caroline discovers that Rain worked as Scaly Ludwig's teaching assistant for 3 years running. Scaly Ludwig is recognized as an exceptional practitioner of elemental magic and even ruler of Magic City. Caroline understands that Scaly doesn't treat family members differently. Anyone who doesn't perform well will be let go without hesitation. Caroline questions why Rain is called a prodigy in the 8 great schools, when he is just Scaly's teaching assistant. Caroline summons Assistant B and asks to schedule a meeting with the Chancellor to discuss a specific admissions case. It seems like history repeats itself, and geniuses always arrive in waves. All new admitted students are extraordinary and come from different schools. The administration sent information about an exceptional student, but he may struggle on his own. The animosity between the noble families and the 8 great schools runs deep, making it difficult to deal with conflicts between students. But the current situation is exceptional. Medelia Page, Dealin's chancellor, proposes that teachers and instructors monitor students carefully and act as necessary. Medelia asks the reason for Caroline's silence, who responds if it would be too early to make such a judgment, leading Medelia to ask for a more complete explanation. Caroline confesses that the magical noble family sent more than just Krista. Medelia asks about a new student she doesn't know about, to which Caroline replies that there is none. Medelia asks about the student Caroline wants to admit through an extra test, and Caroline responds cryptically, reminding her that she met this student at the Council of Sages. Medelia instructs Caroline to be clear and not beat around the bush, so Caroline proposes admitting Rain Ludwig and not intervening further. Caroline worries about how Rain and Krista might react, while Medelia ponders. Medelia says they will soon find out and explains that Owen, a strict instructor, will be Rain's teacher and tutor. She asks if Rain really didn't want incentives, and Caroline confirms, saying that Rain didn't want attention. Rain just wanted to read books, leading Medelia to call him weird. Caroline believes that unusual people often become good wizards, as her master always said, and asks about Medelia's gloomy mood that day. Medelia praises Caroline's observation skills and explains that the thief Rain captured may have ties to the dark religion. Caroline, amazed, says that it can't be, but Medelia claims that she never speaks without proof and reveals that the special division informed her, adding that they will arrive soon. Medelia expresses her concern about the situation and advises Caroline to be prepared. Rain received the acceptance notice despite missing the exam due to being late. After the excitement the next morning, Professor Caroline informed him that he would take an extra test and be added to the list of successful candidates. Caroline seemed worried that Rain's extra tests would dishonor her family, but Rain was more worried about failing the exam, so he accepted the offer immediately and enrolled at the main University of Magic. Now, Rain finds himself at Delon's gate. As he walks through the school halls, he reveals that he has never been attached to a school before. In his previous incarnation, he was taught by the head of the Osiris school, and in this life, he learned from his family. Even after entering school, Rain has no desire to learn from others. His attention is completely focused on discovering what Lys left him. To do this, he needs to improve his skills to match those he had in his past life. Suddenly, Krista screams Rain's name in the hallway. Nervously, he turns and greets her. Krista recognizes him immediately. She thanks him for helping her before scolding him, and informs Rain that she could have solved the problem herself, at which point the other students recognize Krista. Rain comments that Krista is quite well known, and Krista proudly responds that anyone who doesn't know her name is probably a spy. Krista declares Rain as her rival, smiling, and tells him to consider himself lucky. Rain admits to being irritated when he learns that they are rivals, but when he observes Krista's behavior, he remembers someone from his past. In the past, Rain met a girl named Gisela in the Magic Tower, who warned him that he would consider her competition and wanted her respect. This girl was so selfish that Rain remembers her even in her new life. Rain smiles as he recalls the flashback, and Krista wonders if he's mocking her. Krista informs Rain that if he thinks he knows everything, he will be disappointed, and then summons a rectangular symbol. She makes a fist, creating a huge tornado of wind around her, and Rain wonders what Krista is doing as the wind picks up, causing trouble for the other students. Krista asks Rain if he wants to know his true ability and if he's willing to put in some serious effort. Meanwhile, Rain wonders if Krista cares about her surroundings and compares her to Gisela, believing her to be a reincarnation. Rain thinks he should demonstrate his fire spell to Krista. Just then, another student comes in and asks about Rain and Krista's performance. He calls Krista the best new student and Rain the prodigy, who only got in through an extra exam. Hubert, the newly arrived student, smiles and asks if the topic is extreme contracts. Rain and Krista look to the side and notice Hubert there. Hubert, who attends Ram School, has been Krista's rival for a while. Hubert encourages Krista to continue, but she refuses, saying it's not worth it with such a mediocre audience. Krista expresses her regret if her magic drives Hubert away and tells him to be grateful for his consideration. Hubert sarcastically says he is grateful and is going to cry, telling Krista that giving big speeches is pathetic and that she should understand her place. Krista mocks Hubert, calling him a runner-up, and confronts him, while Hubert says that her behavior will bring shame to his family's reputation. Meanwhile, Hubert sees Rain standing there and mocks him, saying that he didn't notice her presence as she is insignificant. Hubert notices the look on Rain's face and wonders if there is something on his face or if something he said offended him. Rain calmly tells Hubert that nothing offended him and questions who he thinks he is to behave that way. Hubert is speechless as Rain wonders if he is capable of using magic and warns him that if he chooses to fight, it must be good. Hubert, like the other students in the audience, appears surprised, calling Rain a boy and questioning his words. Meanwhile, Krista laughs loudly, mocking Hubert for being humiliated by Rain, and admits that if it were her, she would be embarrassed. Just then, a woman next door yells at the students to hurry and instructs Krista, the new student representative, to prepare for her oath. Krista announces her arrival, leaving Hubert astonished before leaving. Krista assures Rain that this time she will leave him alone, but that they will work it out next time. The other students, seeing Krista talk about fighting Rain, believe that Rain has no chance and think it is unfair. However, two students argue that it is fair and that Krista would have a hard time competing against Rain. Another student asks what they mean by that, and one reveals that Rain is Principal Scaly's assistant and is very strong. All the students gather in the hall as the host announces the start of the Delon University entrance ceremony, number 1388. Hubert is uninterested, but other students seem excited, and Rain, looking bored, hopes it will be over soon. Sometime later, the host announces that the Chancellor will give the welcoming speech. Chancellor Medelia Page enters the stage like the greatest wizard in the Empire, looking at the students with fascination, which makes them nervous. Rain recognizes the Chancellor as the greatest wizard in the Empire and a direct descendant of Matt Page, the inventor of magic. He notices her purple hair and assumes it must be hereditary. Medelia welcomes new students to Delon and introduces herself as the university's chancellor. She congratulates the 233 new students and reveals that half will not complete the second year, failing or expelled. Medelia surprises the students by revealing that only 60 of the remaining 117 will advance to the third year, with half graduating. This means that less than 30 people will graduate. The students exchange apprehensive looks, and Medelia explains that Delon would refine their gifts, transforming them from rough stones into jewels. She states that Delon's policy is one of unlimited competition, and that those who cannot keep up will not be eligible for the degree. She assures them that they will feel the impact of the place through their experiences and shouts at them to improve their talents, telling the students to face each other. She hopes to see them again in 3 years, when she will greet them as a senior sorceress, not a chancellor. She ends her words by wishing the students good luck. Initially silent, the students burst into applause. They start shouting for Medelia, who wears a proud expression. Rain also applauds and expresses excitement about returning in 3 years. The teachers are on the balconies above the hall, watching. Teacher Caroline is impressed with the excitement and says she appreciates the spirit of the students. She asks Professor Owen, the man behind her, what he thinks. Owen had high hopes for the new group, but was saddened to see them as a bunch of empty-headed imbeciles. Caroline wonders what he means, and Owen responds that everyone will receive an automatic failure. Rain, holding a scroll, looks ahead and wonders if the large building with a dragon on the roof is the university building. He appreciates its enormous magnitude. He walks down the hall towards the classroom at a steady pace. Upon entering, you notice that the room is empty. He sits by the window and makes himself comfortable. Sitting, he looks outside, the wind making the curtains move. He is satisfied and gets lost in thought. Suddenly, a voice behind him comments that they are in the same class and encourages him to get along. Rain turns around, surprised to see Krista waving at him. Disappointed with his luck, he puts his palms to his face, realizing he will have to deal with Krista from the beginning. Krista shares her joy at sitting next to Rain, expecting him to be humiliated from the start. Hubert approaches at that moment, beaming with joy. He comments on Krista's rudeness and lack of etiquette, especially when she gestures at people. The purple-haired girl tells Hubert that this is part of Krista's charm. She goes on to say that Krista is beautiful and charming even without it, unlike Hubert, who is nothing more than elegant packaging. Meanwhile, Rain is irritated by their conversation and suspects he might get sick. He remembers a conversation from his past life in which Frida asked him if he ever wanted to go to school, and he said no. Rain justified his position as a 4-star sorcerer by saying that education was a waste of time, which made Frida call him an idiot. Frida explained that school is more than just the academic part. It's also about learning about people. Rain doubts whether he really needs to learn about people like Krista and Hubert. As class begins, a large hand grabs the door and a gigantic man enters. Rain is surprised by the man's size and compares him to a gorilla, asking if he is really the teacher. There is visible anxiety among students. Krista informs Rain that the man is Professor Owen, a strict master. Owen notices the students' strange reactions and seems dissatisfied with their smiles and yawns. He regrets having to teach such disinterested students, describing them as a bunch of monkeys with empty heads. He throws chalk at a student who wasn't paying attention and hits him. Continuing to observe the students, Owen sees a girl with purple hair smiling. Rain and Krista watch in silence. Owen criticizes the students, saying they are sad and rude. He tells them that joining Delon doesn't mean they own the planet and challenges their future plans. Owen says if they achieve greatness, they can call him master, but for now they are just baby monkeys with a lot to learn. He asks if any of them come from the big 8 schools, and some raise their hands. Owen calls them the worst and dismisses the students' strange formulas as weak, emphasizing that he does not expect participation from them, warning them not to obstruct his teaching. He asks if any of them come from noble magical families, and Rain and Krista raise their hands. Owen describes them as absolutely repulsive, berating them for their arrogance and lack of real-world experience, suggesting they go home and learn fundamental skills. Rain admires Owen's ability to offend, comparing him to a cult leader. Owen declares that his goal is to mold students into useful sorcerers, calling them little better than monkeys. He says there is no room in the classroom for anyone worse than a monkey, and promises to expel anyone who can't keep up. With no response from the students, he wonders if they are half asleep. He wonders if he should teach them how to respond. Owen approaches a student and asks if he is intimidated. The student responds no. Then, he asks the student if he sees him as weak. Owen announces an urgent test and instructs the students to group up with their benchmates. Owen warns that those who finish last will be expelled. He tells the students to prepare in a serious tone. Students are frightened by the possibility of expulsion. Hubert believes the professor is faking. Rain and Krista watch in silence. Professor Owen starts writing on the board and hits it with a punch. After finishing, he gives students 20 minutes to solve the problem on the board. And when presenting the task, he warns that anyone who doesn't finish in time or comes in last will be expelled, while the children look on in fear. Owen asks what they are looking at and declares that the test has begun. The students begin to struggle to answer the questions in panic, while Owen observes that even monkeys can perform a 2-star spell. Rain remains calm, and Krista is deeply focused on meditation. Krista begins to analyze the issue and tries to figure out which formula to use. She murmurs that she will create the basic formula and apply a function to find the answer. She asks Rain to stop talking and writing. When Krista thinks about her family's situation, she realizes that this is all they have, and she needs to maintain the honor of her home. She declares that she will be the best. Rain, believing she carries a great weight, asks Krista if she found the answer, and she confirms. Rain delivers the solution to Krista, when suddenly a strong gust of wind blows through the window, catching Rain and Krista off guard. Someone appears to be casting a spell, tearing up Rain and Krista's response before taking it out the window. Krista exclaims, amazed, and Professor Owen scolds Krista for being too loud and instructs her to be quiet. Krista, worried, realizes she needs to start over. Rain activates the Ring of Silence, making his eyes glow red with enhanced vision. He observes a cloud of white smoke coming from Hubert, the royal family's secret weapon. A wind spell is soundless and colorless, allowing the magic to occur unnoticed. Rain deduces that it must have been a wind spell. Krista begs Rain to hurry up and turn in her work so she can can quickly rewrite it. Rain realizes the time is only 8 minutes, but believes he can solve the challenge in that time. He takes the sheet from Krista's hand, explaining that it's too much for her to finish in time. Rain says she needs to learn to give up, and Krista curses him in frustration. Rain claims he can do it and tells Krista that her path is impossible. He picks up his pen and quickly solves the problem. While correcting the issue, Rain reminds Krista that a mental breakdown won't make her a witch and advises her to calm down. He tells her she needs to stay calm to become a powerful sorceress. Rain then remembers his previous life, fighting demons, where even a second delay meant death, not just expulsion from school. He says he will lead and instructs Krista to follow him, encouraging her not to give up. Hubert and his benchmate finish the test and smile as they leave their seats. Hubert presents the document to Professor Owen and asks to be corrected. Owen accepts and casts a spell to verify Hubert's solutions. The paper floats in the air, releasing a large cloud of smoke. Owen comments that the runes are working, which isn't bad for such a short period of time. Hubert and his colleague are happy, but Owen warns them not to be arrogant, pointing out that they didn't complete everything perfectly. Owen states that 2 minutes is enough to solve this type of problem and gives Hubert's solution a C. Hubert bows slightly, confused, because he was the first in the class to solve the problem. Owen warns Hubert not to be petulant and reminds him that he must understand why he received a C. He calls Hubert a baby monkey. The girl asks Owen what his point is, admitting she doesn't understand. Rain and Krista continue, finishing the test as Rain instructs the girl to get out of the way. Despite their answer sheets being torn up, the other students are surprised when Rain and Krista are already finished. Professor Owen and Hubert look at Rain. Rain demands that Owen review his answers. Owen smiles and laughs, asking if Rain is really done, revealing that he was looking forward to seeing him expelled. Rain argues that if you can't use magic because of a gust of wind, you can't be a sorcerer. Professor Owen takes the paper from Rain's hand, applauding his wish. Hubert and his colleague watch in fascination. Owen's eyes widen in surprise as he examines Rain's answer sheet. Rain says that one is a leaf and the other is a circle, and that the circle works well with water magic, simplifying rune mathematics. Rain explains that a first-order equation speeds up the casting of the runes, earning Owen's admiration despite Rain's high school classification. Rain describes the change in spells formed to avoid the obligation to master runes before using magic. Owen notices that Rain is trying to shorten the rune's activation time, calling it brilliant, but doubting it will work. Rain agrees. Owen smiles and suggests they find out for themselves, which makes Rain smile too. Owen smiles at Rain, emphasizing the increased complexity of the math in a double property flying circle for the standing equation as the paper begins to glow. Rays of white light begin to emerge from him, surprising Owen. Rain and Krista are soon surrounded by a dense fog that swirls in all directions. A bright white light, looking like a star, appears above them and turns into a twinkling star, surprising Owen. The other students are amazed by the flaming star. Owen, surprised, says he has been teaching for 13 years and has seen many geniuses, but Rain and Krista are the first to find the solution. Owen expresses his astonishment and declares that Rain's answer will receive an S grade, something no one has ever received before. Rain thanks Owen for his generosity, and Krista seems extremely excited, unable to contain her joy. She shouts and praises Owen while continuing to applaud. She looks at Rain, who looks happy, and Owen is smiling too. Owen tells Krista to go back to her seat, threatening to cash her points, and Krista apologizes smilingly. Then, Owen turns to Hubert and his benchmate, telling them to go back to their seats too. Hubert looks at Krista as he returns to his seat and steps in front of Rain. Their eyes meet, and Rain looks at Hubert, who asks if Rain has anything to say. When one of the students realizes that they haven't returned to their seats yet, Owen warns them to leave if they don't want to face punishment. Rain and Hubert continue to face each other, with Rain warning Hubert that next time he won't let it go. All the young people who passed the test had to deal with the harsh words of Owen the gorilla. Rain also passed first grade after starting school. Rain turns to Krista, who is sitting next to him, and tries to ask a question, but despite calling out to her, Krista ignores him. Rain wonders why Krista is pretending not to hear him. Owen asks students about the expressions on their faces and whether they find the class difficult. He promises a harder lesson next time, warning that those who can't keep up will be left behind, while the students with bitter expressions reflect on the harsh reality. After class, Krista calls Rain. He asks her what she wants, and she stutters, thanking him quietly. Rain asks why her voice is so low and asks her to repeat herself, but Krista yells at Rain, asking him not to be so hard to please. She shouts that the loan will be returned next time and warns Rain not to get too arrogant, reminding him that they are rivals. She tells Rain that this is the first time she has received help from someone. As Krista continues yelling at Rain, the other students in the class discuss Owen the gorilla giving Krista an S. They also comment about Rain being on the same team as Krista, and everyone seems impressed. The next day, Rain asks Krista which floor her accommodation is on, while they are in front of 2 large towers. Krista responds without bragging. Rain tells Krista that what she said was arrogant and wonders if making impossible promises is normal. Krista turns, furious and and runs away, ordering Rain to wait and see. Rain enters the building and other students in the hallways recognize him as the top student, starting to whisper. Students believe that if Rain had exceptional abilities, he should have arrived on time and not have to take an extra test. Rain approaches a huge wooden door, takes out a medallion and holds it in front of the door. The door opens automatically, and Rain realizes that there is only one room. The room has a bookcase, a table, and a chair. Rain enters and says that it reminds him of the Magic Tower, since in his past life, he stayed in a similar chamber and dedicated himself only to the study of magic. A memory of his old life flashes before his eyes, but he shakes his head, pushing the experience away. He lies on his back on the bed, looking at the ceiling, and realizes that apart from the first position, he has nothing else to do. He considers sneaking into the Vatican and searching for her remains, but given his current powers and size, he thinks it wouldn't be a good idea to do anything clandestine. He raises his hand and triangle-shaped symbols appear above his palm. He tries to move them, but they disappear. Worried, he wonders if his magic is less than 4 stars. An owl swoops down to the glass, catching your attention. He turns around and sees that the owl is carrying a package in its paw. Rain gets out of bed and takes the package from the owl, which flies away. He realizes that it is a wooden box, which has something written on the outside. Rain notices that there is no sender's name and wonders if it was sent by his father. He opens the box and finds 2 books inside. He takes the books and realizes that they are quite old. And with the books aged and fragile, he recognizes them as his diaries, which he had given to Liz in her final moments. He is surprised to look at them and, looking out the window, wonders who gave them to him. His face changes to one of shock as he considers the possibility that someone knows his true identity. In the school's magical training facility, in the War Dragon camp, intense training takes place. The system's voice announces that there are 30 seconds left until the end of the training session. Krista is focused, while the other students watch with interest. When the clock hits 20 seconds, with 15 seconds left, someone asks Krista if something wonderful happened to her that day, and she questions what they mean by that. Krista's friend, who is watching the clock, says 10 seconds and notices that she seems more excited than usual. With 5 seconds left, the girl asks if it's because she ran into Rain and wonders what happened between the two. Krista casts a spell and swears there is nothing between her and Rain. Offended by her friend's look, Krista says she is just practicing to relieve stress, but her friend notices that she is acting strangely. The friend believes the rumors that Krista receives help from Rain on exams and finds it funny, as she met Rain when she was a child at a local church meeting. Hubert approaches the common room of the student dormitory. As he walks in, a guy greets him and calls him a C-level loser. Other students in the dorm look at Hubert. Hubert warns the guy, named Logan, not to overdo it, or he will get caught. Logan, a big guy, begs Hubert to calm down, saying he almost made himself in his pants, hearing that someone got a C. He says he heard that Krista got an S rank, even though she was wearing a sandbag. He asks Hubert what the noble genius is like, and if he is as good as they say, and if he is superior to him. Hubert tells Logan to stop talking, calling him dumb with all muscle. With a grim expression, he asks Logan if he wants to test this. Logan smiles. Logan and Hubert stare at each other, and a girl sitting nearby, interested in a book, stops them, reminding them that they are not alone. Logan smiles and tells Lily he was just joking. He says he intends to defeat Krista, the noble genius, and asks if she wants to join him. Lily says that Logan is always doing useless things and asks what he gets out of tormenting the weak. Logan insists he's joking, while Hubert promises to look after them. Hubert turns around and warns Logan that if he causes trouble, he'll get in trouble. He enters his room, cursing Logan, bangs on the wall angrily, and wonders what Rain Ludwig could have done. His face expresses anger. Meanwhile, Rain is reading the diary and notices that the first section is about his life, and the second talks about the style of magic and battle he used. He closes the diary, perplexed, wondering who and how someone could have discovered his true identity. Furthermore, he wonders why these people haven't contacted him if they know. Rain looks at the mantle, realizes that it is 23 o'clock, and decides to turn off the lights before the inspector arrives. He turns off the light, and in the darkness, notices a glow coming from the diary. He takes the diary, and a blue object, resembling a butterfly, emerges from its pages. Rain is perplexed when he sees the object, which is a rudin he created in his past life. He notices that it is twice as big and darker in color, and wonders who used the magic and for what purpose. He holds out his hand, and the rudin flies to him, landing on his finger. The rudin instructs Rain to continue his studies in unique magic, which is now at 37%. Another warning, with strange shapes and symbols, arrives, and Rain's eyes widen in surprise. He recognizes that he researched that in his past life to reach the rank of sage, and the 12 runes he sees are the same ones he tried to practice 300 years ago and thought he had failed. But today he realizes that he has made 37% progress. He is even more surprised to discover that a 4-star rudin can monitor the growth of a 6-star mage. He wonders if this is all real, and his face lights up with a smile. He believes that the path he is following is not wrong, and if he continues, he hopes to reach the truth. Thus, Thus, unexpected hope dawns on Rain, and the idea that whoever sent the book might be genuine. But he doesn't care and throws it out of his mind. Rain gets dressed, grabs her diary, and begins her search for answers. When he goes out, he realizes that it is raining and it is very cold, unlike the north because of the influence of the Red Mountains. The rain in the south is also hot. Despite the rain, Rain continues on his way, getting wet while whistling. He heads to the War Dragon camp, where anyone can practice magic at will. The lady behind the counter offers to show Rain around. She says that the field of the War Dragon is a place to practice magic with high power and great range. The field is surrounded by protection and repair magic, allowing one to cast magic without fear of damaging the surroundings. The lady instructs Rain to place her student ID ring at the entrance, and Rain raises her finger, making the ring glow. An unexpected noise is heard, and a voice welcomes Rain to the Hall of Warriors, informing him that there are now 30 rooms available, as the lady instructs him to make himself at home. Rain chooses room 15, which is closest to the center, and the voice approves. Rain needs a solid target. A circular point of light appears in front of you, and a huge, robot-like creature emerges. Rain examines the target and notes that it is a 2-star spell, indicating that it is not bad. He then opens his diary, sees Run Yun, and decides to try and form a barrier. He raises his hand and forms a triangular symbol, inscribes Run Yun within the triangle, and tries to activate it. But to his surprise, the symbol vaporizes into smoke, leaving him speechless. Now irritated, Rain wonders if it might be 1-star magic. He makes a fist, which lights up, creating 3 triangular symbols engraved in a circle. Then, inscribe Run Yun in the triangles, which glow red, and bring your hands together to perform the magic, causing a small explosion in front of you. The explosion generates a large number of small, round, shiny objects that do not affect the target. Rain looks disappointed. At that moment, someone observes Rain and thinks that his magic is terrible. Hubert is surprised to see Rain unable to properly use a star's magic. Fire magic is supposed to be noisy, but Hubert figures Rain's power is simpler and walks away, smiling, remembering the rumor that Rain was a teaching assistant for Scaly. Meanwhile, the target begins to glow brightly, and as its light increases, fissures form in its body, causing it to break and fall. Rain hides his face and mumbles, "I almost did it." He notices that the Dune element flames have entered the target's body, melting it from the inside, which may be the desired result since it took 30 seconds to melt the 2-star golem. Rain wonders if the run is incomplete or if the mathematical theory is wrong, but smiles, believing he has enough time to figure it out. He is determined to find out, no matter how difficult the task, and seems excited about the research. Rain sits down and examines Ruin's runes. Rudian reports that Dune's run has been changed to Yun due to the reform of matrix mechanics theory. The Rudian not only detects magic in the surroundings, but also provides a summary of the day's research, which Rain finds invaluable. Rain notices Rudian's telegram, instructing him to continue his research into unique magic and reporting that progress is at 37.1%. Rain wonders if mathematical theory has improved or if runes have become more sophisticated, as it has increased 0.1% from the previous 37%. He decides not to overthink it, saying there is still time. Suddenly, Rain feels a large gust of wind coming towards him and observes someone performing magic. Hubert activated his wind magic and appears to be practicing with the flying training targets. The targets attack him, and Hubert punches and cuts them to pieces with his wind magic. He fights the other puppets, punching and slashing them with his wind magic. Rain observes Hubert curiously and notices that he has many skills, which may explain why he always talks so much. Hubert waves his arms, and large gusts of wind surround him, while Rain, noticing Hubert's expression, suspects that something is wrong. The technique to activate magic is divided into 3 phases. Professor Owen points to the board and explains the steps: creating the magic circle, inscribing the runes, and calculating the mathematical formulas. He informs the class that most magicians have difficulty in the 3rd phase, calculating formulas, and that mistakes can result in tragedies. To solve the problem, Owen reveals that Archer Mage Rin created a mathematical formula to prevent catastrophes and provides an example. He teaches students to use Ren discrimination and believes they will have difficulty because their brains are smaller than those of monkeys. Owen offers the students 10 minutes, arguing that he simplified the formula, so there shouldn't be any idiots who can't understand it. As Rain looks over the formula, Owen instructs the students to get started. Rain worries about leaking the formula he created, as his 3 companions, who have difficulty with basic mathematics, could not know about it. Thinking about it, he remembers a boy lurking behind his team, an annoying guy who kept following him and claimed to be his student. The person was called Trin, and Rain wonders if he sent the notebook, but thinks it's impossible since Trin lived 300 years ago. Rain is deep in concentration when he feels a hand on his shoulder, drawing his attention. He turns to Krista and asks what problem she is having, but she dismisses it, insisting that she is a genius and even a level above Rain. The teacher gives them a deadly look. Krista apologizes for getting carried away. Rain asks her what she wants, which causes her to stutter and worry. She hands Rain a red package, and when he takes it, he's curious about what it is. Krista, looking embarrassed, explains that they are cookies. She says she made them in her free time after magic training, looking away as Rain looks confused. Rain asks why she did that, and Krista replies that she owes him something and that the cookies are a form of compensation. Rain thanks him, and when he opens the lid, he discovers that the cookies are burnt and look like charcoal.